It's week number 1 of my faith and fitness, my health and holiness, my body and Bible challenge. How do you think I did for my first week? Let's find out. So welcome to my faith and fitness journey. Week number 1. 6 days of cardio, 6 days of strength training, 6 days of Bible meditation and prayer. Jesus said to Peter in the garden, "Could you not watch for 1 hour?" Sweet hour of prayer, sweet. I can't sing. So week number 1 is over. Let's see how I did. So let's begin with the fitness side of the house. So this Peloton is my bread and butter of my cardio. This is my motivation room. This is where I keep my Peloton bike. Actually, it's just the top of my stairs, but on the wall I have things that encourage me, like my father's war medals, my war medals, motivational quotes. But this is Monday morning, the first day of my challenge at 4 a.m., and this is what my room looks like. Now, I have the disco lights on just to add a little fun and give me a little bit of encouragement, to add a little atmosphere. Now, for my first day, I decided I'm going to do a pre-recorded on-demand ride because of my work schedule. I can only do a 30-minute ride. So I went to the library. I found the ride that I want to do. I'm going to do my favorite instructor, Jess King, low impact ride. This is a great way to kick off this 52-week challenge. My first day of 4 a.m. cardio for this challenge. I got my earphones on. I have my heart rate monitor. I also wear a knee brace because of my knee. And the bike is 100% silent. So that's what's great about riding at 4 a.m. I'm not waking up my family. Plus I have the earphones on so I can hear the music. The ride was great. It was only 30 minutes, but look at this. I still burned 359 calories. I went 10 miles. And that evening, I made it to the gym for my first day of weights. I did chest. Day 1 in the can. So Tuesday morning at 4 a.m. I did a live ride with Ali Love. That was the instructor's name. Because I took a low impact ride the day before, today I gave it my all. This was an interval ride. This was brutal. I burned 643 calories. I went 16 miles. I felt this ride. Oh, it was a killer. So I'm sitting here at work. It's been about 5.5 hours since my ride this morning with Ali. I had to get out of my patrol car because my legs are sore. I can feel this morning's ride. And I should mention I can feel yesterday's chest workout. It's going to be a long week. Long week or not, I made it to the gym Tuesday night and I did triceps. And in case you're wondering, I'm a security officer for a little mom and pop airplane company called Boeing. So Wednesday, day number 3, I did a 45-minute pop music ride. I can't stand pop music, but I did this ride as an endurance ride. An endurance ride is where you keep your heart rate around zone 2. It's good for fat burning as well as recovery from the previous day's difficult ride. Still went 14.5 miles, burned 500 calories, and I ended day 3 at the gym that night with some curls for the girls. I did biceps. So Thursday morning, I was up early again at 4 a.m. to ride with Ali Love, a new tracks ride. Not exactly classic rock, but hey, I'll do it. Because I did the endurance ride yesterday, today I gave it my all. 16 miles, 639 calories, it wiped me out. So staying consistent with my challenge, I made it to the gym Thursday night and did some shoulders. I brought my 14-year-old stepson, he's my workout partner, and we absolutely burned out our shoulders. So Friday morning, day number 5 comes, and I'm tired, man. I've worked hard this week. I'm just laying here looking at the bike, but I decided to muster up the courage and do a Jess King 20-minute low-impact ride. But look at this. This says pop ride, right? I hate pop music. I accidentally hit the wrong ride, but I love Jess King, so I still did it. I did about 20 minutes, but that's not enough, so I decided to do this scenic ride through South America. I pushed it a little bit harder on this ride, kept my heart rate about zone 3, and got a good workout in. Between both rides, the scenic ride and the spin class ride, I burned 500 calories, went about 13 miles. Now, time to end the week with weights, right? Nope, not this time. After this ride, my wife and I flew to Vegas for our 1-year anniversary. So all in all, it was a great week, and I'm still on track. So overall, it was a successful week on my personal journey on this fitness challenge. It wasn't easy, but I did it. It takes commitment. Now, on the faith side, I spent the entire week in Daniel chapter 1. I read it every day, once a day. I prayed through it, I meditated on it. So let me review with you what I learned this week in Daniel 1. So this chapter begins with young Daniel and his 3 friends, their Babylonian names are Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, being taken to Babylon in 605 BC by King Nebuchadnezzar of the Babylonians. This was King Nebuchadnezzar's first attack on Jerusalem. Nebuchadnezzar attacked Jerusalem at least 3 times in history. 605 BC, that's when he took Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Attacked it again in 597 BC, and he took Ezekiel down to Babylon. The third and final time was in 586 BC when he attacked Jerusalem, annihilated it, and destroyed the temple. That wasn't good. So in verses 3 through 7, we see that Daniel and his 3 friends are taken from Judah's nobility. That means they were descendants of the king. These 4 boys were placed in a training program, a royal academy. So why would the king of Babylon take Jewish captives from the royal family, and enroll them in a school? It's because we call this brainwashing. See, what the Babylonians wanted to do to these Jewish boys was teach them the Babylonian ways. And they all received new names which identified themselves with the Babylonian religion, which separated them from their old life and their old religion. This was a 3-year academy. What Nebuchadnezzar was doing was taking these Jewish nobles, he was going to brainwash them and then train them to be future administrators in his empire, the Babylonian Empire. So the point was to take these Jewish noblemen who were former leaders of the Jewish people and train them for the task of assisting with all the imported Jews that are coming to Babylon. You gotta give Nebuchadnezzar some credit in this sense that he chose the best men rather than just ethnic Babylonians to do this function. Many commentators say that this was an example of his shrewd and enlightened government. He wanted to find the best men to help administer his huge empire. And it's interesting because in verse 4, we are told the requirements that Nebuchadnezzar had for the boys that were enrolled in this school. They had to be physically free from defect or handicap. They had to be good looking or pleasing in appearance in the public eye. They had to be sharp. They had to be socially poised and polished for public leadership. And the ages of the boys in this school were somewhere between 14 and 17. Most commentators believe Daniel and his friends are about 15 years old at this time. Dude, that's like a sophomore in high school. But the key verse in this chapter is verse 8. It is here that we learn that while at this school, Daniel purposes in his heart or resolves not to defile himself with the king's portion of delicacies. It means he's not going to eat their food. He resolves to remain faithful to God, and he's not going to break any of the strict Jewish dietary laws. He makes a commitment to vegetarianism and drinking only water. God, I hate vegetables, man. I take a supplement for vegetables because I hate eating them so much. So does that mean that being a vegetarian is more spiritual than a meat eater? No. The reason Daniel did this was because Moses' dietary law, or the Old Testament, forbade Jews to eat meat of any unclean animal. The only way that these guys are going to make sure that they are having a truly kosher diet is to avoid all Babylonian meat. They didn't know what was going to be on the plate. Also, in a lot of the societies back then, most of the meat at some point came from animals that were offered in sacrifice to foreign deities, false gods. Their rejection of meat was also their way of rejecting idolatry. It's possible that they thought that eating such meat that was sacrificed or dedicated to such pagan deities could be equivalent to honoring those deities. So he purposes in his heart not to defile himself with a portion of the king's delicacies, and as a result, in verses 9 through 16, he approaches the chief official, or chief of the eunuchs, according to the New King James. And he approaches this chief official respectfully. It's here where Daniel proposes to this chief of the eunuchs, or this chief official, a test, a 10-day vegetarian diet test. And the reason he does this is because initially the chief official, chief eunuch, he's concerned that Daniel's request to eat only vegetables is going to harm him. It's going to harm those 4 boys, and the king's going to have his head. But what I really want you to see in verses 9 through 16 is this. When Daniel approaches this chief official, chief eunuch, notice how respectful he is. Daniel had his own personal convictions and he was going to stand by them. But he understood the chief official's concern. He saw things from his perspective. You see, some of us believers can be so obnoxious. We can be so obnoxious when we're taking a stand for the faith. But Daniel, however, was respectful and he was sensitive. He didn't demand, he asked permission. He recognizes the validity of the eunuch's concern. He proposes an alternative, a 10-day test. My point is this: we can still put God first, we can stand for our convictions, and still be respectful of those people around us. So in the conclusion of the chapter, that's verses 17 to 21, we learn that Daniel and his friends not only remain healthy, but when they are tested by Nebuchadnezzar himself at the end of their 3-year training, they surpass all the others who are already in his service. Let me tell you, this training was hard. We know from archaeology what these boys had to study. Spoken Chaldean, written Chaldean, Akkadian. Chaldean was considered a special class of the Babylonian people. Eventually in history, the term Chaldean and Babylonian would just be used synonymously. Spoken and written Aramaic, they had to study the mass volumes of the Sumerian religion, magical arts, astrological charts, and all their scientific writings. I passed freshman algebra my senior year with a D-. You know what? When commitment is strong to God, a pagan education in a pagan society need not corrupt us. We just have to purpose in our heart like Daniel did. And after all these studies, the kings found these boys 10 times smarter than everybody else. So the first chapter of Daniel, 21 verses, it sets the introductory tone of the personal section of this book. The first 6 chapters of Daniel are stories. 7 through 12 is a lot of dreams and visions. Daniel is a model for all who want to remain faithful to God, yet be successful in this secular world. So each week I want to choose a key verse from each chapter to memorize. And this week I chose Daniel chapter 1 verse 8, which says, "But Daniel purposed in his heart not to defile himself with the portion of the king's delicacies, nor with the wine that he drank. Therefore he requested of the chief of the eunuchs that he might not defile himself." And here's the big idea of chapter 1. Do not abandon your commitment to God just to get along with the world. So week 1's over. I did my rides, I did my weights, I did my Bible study. See you for next video for week number 2.